So I'm a part of this group on Facebook called Psychonaut Society, and there was a post recently where someone asked, what was your most life-changing experience on psychedelics? And I saw some pretty interesting stories on there, and they were also pretty short, so I wanted to make a little video sharing some of the really cool experiences that I think exemplify the best of what can happen to someone on psychedelics. So someone named Amber Marie said, the first/only time I tried DMT, I was guided by a winged phoenix-like creature made of millions of colors that don't exist to our eyes. I was falling through a vortex, and it took me under its wing, gliding in a circle downwards. It spoke to me in a foreign tongue, which I understood. It showed me the answers to all known questions of life and the universe, where we go when we die, the meaning behind our creation, the cycle of birth and rebirth. Showed me the universe and all other planets and beings and entities, other dimensions, all while speaking to me in this foreign tongue. It was so overwhelming, but the godly being kept reassuring me and telling me it's okay. This is how it's supposed to be, and everything works out fine. To not be afraid of death, because where we go after is beautiful. Then, of course, when I woke up, I couldn't remember any of it. It was like it was only meant for me to understand when in that state of being/consciousness. I remember near the end, it was saying, there isn't much time left, but here's this and this and this, and it's all going to work out. And then we landed on the ground and I woke up. Truly terrifying and magical and immensely life-changing all at once. So that sounds super fantastical and amazing. And a lot of people have experiences like this where they feel like they're getting true and genuine insights into the universe, which is also sometimes called a noetic quality, where it has this kind of significance and meaning and this air of truth about it. And yet, a lot of the times when you come out of it just like a dream, you have a really hard time remembering exactly what your amazing insights were. So this one is from Theo. He said, when I was 19, some buddies and I went on a cottage to trip on mushrooms together. I had just dropped out of school because I realized that I needed time to figure out what I wanted out of life. I had been really interested in making videos and brought my camera along with me. Prior to the trip, I had felt really ashamed of the fact that I was taking photos and videos of everyone because I thought it was somehow lame of me to be creative in that sense. I had been hiding my creative side from the world for years for this reason. During the experience, I had the most profound realization that my creativity was one of my greatest gifts, and that is one of the most fundamental parts of who I am. It changed the entire trajectory of my life, and I'm now a full-time artist. That is awesome. That to me is amazing, because our society does not prioritize the arts or creativity, but when you go deep within yourself and you have these psychedelic experiences, it shows you that among many things, creativity is one of the most central aspects of our being. It's what makes us human. And so if you feel called to be an artist, living your truth is creating and dedicating your life to that. It's easier said than done, but like this guy said, it can change the trajectory of your life to where you go in that direction. Okay, here's another one. They said, I would say I met my archetype. I did an 8 grams of mushrooms. The goal of this trip was just to explore. No expectations, and I was in a beautiful place mentally. During the opening, which is what I call it when the body and head feels start to come on. This one was a rush. I felt like I was strapped to a rocket as it turned on its propulsion. I did what I always do when I'm home and it's about to get hefty. I laid down in bed and covered my head with my blanket and closed my eyes. Immediately, I'm at these cliffs on another planet. The twilight is a hazy purple blue. The lighting is naturally romantic. A woman comes forth and starts speaking. I recognize the voice. Many times the mushroom had something to say, It used this voice. Her presence was stunning and elegant. She was tall, close to 7 feet, more muscular, powerful. Her face looked fairly human, but her features were much sharper, but also softer. She was very welcome. She said, "You're a little late, but I'm happy you made it. We all come." I look over the cliff we're standing on to see millions of beings like her. She sang a word in a language I've never heard but could basically understand: love. The crowd responds as though it's a call. "As well you." Then, with her voice, she composes a song using a call and repeat method with millions of voices. The sound is so powerful that it shakes the planet that we're on. She goes on about this for a while. I'm enamored and fully without language, just baffled at what I'm witnessing. She stops, turns to me, and goes, "Now you." Okay, I'm very confused. I can't state my confusion, but she encourages me more. So I decide to sing. I can do that. As I make a sound, the crowd starts productively responding. They build chords and melody with me. I'm going about this for some time when I see them start to slowly fade to darkness. I wake up in my bed with my blanket over my face, humming a note. That's amazing too. I love how just completely sci-fi this stuff gets sometimes. Like, you're on an alien planet with 7-foot tall, slightly human beings, and they have this kind of love-based religious chant / song or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's crazy. Okay, this one's from Darren Moon. The following may or may not be true. 2018 was a shit year, and I know it to have been for so many people. My marriage dissolved and my brick and mortar business closed. At 48 years old, I found myself living in a friend's basement, financially and emotionally broken, very depressed, and seemingly not much hope in the near future. Luckily, a particular entheogen via the fungal world showed up. 5 dried grams of golden teacher. I know the drill. For about a week, mental preparation was undertaken and a night of solace was available. Jotting down what I needed to deal with and some meditation took place. I was going in direct with a mission. All the dried fruits were chomped down raw in the natural form. Crawling into my darkened bedroom, I resumed some meditation. Only about 20 minutes had passed when lightning struck inside. This was going to deliver big. I left my bed and sat at the footboard, assuming a half lotus position. The felt energy began cascading down all around me, seemingly from above. Matrix movie-ish, but blue hues. During the entry into the Matrix, 4 pillars of bright white light came down from the ceiling, which was no longer there. They created a box around me and lit me up. I began to lightly sway around in the quasi-yogi pose, working my spine, hips, shoulders, and neck. A rhythm to this was set, and it was almost like a sitting dance of sorts. The cubes began coming on really strong. I realigned to focus back towards my intents that needed to be dealt with. One by one, the individual chakra wheels would light up like a strobing street light. Root, throat, crown, all of them at intermittent sequences. This happened for maybe a solid minute and continually got faster and faster with the flashes. When the chakra wheels reached an incredibly high speed, they all flashed at once in tandem and became incredibly bright. The brightness was so intense that I could not see anything for a second. At that moment, a small white spiral of light began swirling around my tailbone. It made a couple or 3 full circles, then shot straight up through my spine and blasted my crown chakra open. This lit up my room completely, like a bright LED light was flicked on. This took several minutes to recover from. I wanted to get up and walk, but I was unable. I readjusted myself, focused back on my intentions. When I regained vision, a golden hall began manifesting towards me, building itself toward me from what seemed like 50 yards away. Egyptian hieroglyphs were scrolling from top to bottom of the walls as it came closer to me. From the far end of the hall, a female snake began working its way directly at me. She stopped in front of my face and erected itself as a cobra would. She says, "You called me here. What do you want?" I took the opportunity to recite what needed to be dealt with. It was time for all the past traumas to go and start anew. After my list was spoken, she looked at me and said, "That's all?" I said yes, and she turned around and slithered back through the hall. The hall dissolved behind her as she went on her way. My depression, anger, sadness, and all of the other symptoms of treachery all but vanished within weeks of the time of this experience. There was more to it, like 7 hours more to it, but I think using Friend of Terrence as a modality for self-help is nothing to shake a stick at. Kundalini rising blew my fucking mind. So another person having a Kundalini awakening or Kundalini rising experience, this is something that happened to me as well when I was on LSD when I was 18, and it was a super formative experience, and it's why I'm so passionate about this subject. So speaking of that, I'm going to read you guys the condensed version of my most life-changing psychedelic experience that I posted in this thread. If you want to see the full trip report, there's a full version of it on my channel. I'm going to add a link in the description, but I'm going to read you guys the short version of it right here. 2 hits of LSD gave me a full-blown mystical experience. I was scared and felt like I was dying, and my friend who was trip-sitting sat with me and held my hand like I was on my deathbed. This act of compassion totally turned the trip around. I began to see arcs of white light coming from the ground and going back into the ground. They were spread everywhere. Then I saw the most beautiful hallucination ever. It was a sacred 3-dimensional language. It was neon green and stood about 3 foot tall. It looked like a mix of Sanskrit, Arabic, geometry, and math. I got the feeling that this energy it emanated was the love glue holding together the universe. After that, I listened to some music and began to feel a fire-like sensation in my belly. It was my center of willpower. It's where the primal force of hunger motivates you to survive. This fire-like energy grew so intense that it had to rise up. Then it moved into my heart. This is where the energy became refined and supercharged. I immediately felt an intense connection and love to everything. This love energy also kept growing, and it felt like this steam that had to escape. And the only way it could go was up and out, through my throat. I felt the energy go up through my throat area, and that's where I knew my purpose in life was to express and vocalize this immense mystical feeling. Once that happened, I was blasted into cosmic consciousness and felt as huge as the galaxies. I felt the scale of deep time and evolution, feeling how I was a part of millions and millions of years of evolution. I kept looking at my hands and thinking, holy shit, these are monkey hands. These evolved to grip trees and swing around. Later I played guitar with my band, and I felt how infinite creativity could be. And I also felt how I was still a monkey swinging around from trees as my hand swung around the wooden fretboard of the guitar. I realized how Jimi Hendrix must have felt, expressing primal cosmic energy and playing with the feedback of the guitar amplifier. It was a lot, and the afterglow lasted for months. So that's a long story short of my most life-changing experience. And as you can see, I'm not alone. Not only do other people have insanely profound mystical experiences, but they also have these movements of energy within the body. And this isn't something that I went into it expecting. This is something that happened spontaneously. I had no idea what Kundalini or the chakras were, and I'm sure the other guy didn't really know much beforehand either. And there are a lot of us who have these spontaneous events that we got to make sense of, and it's not always easy because our culture doesn't have a really good container or a way to integrate these perplexing experiences. While they may be extremely perplexing, there's no doubt that these are some of the most sublime and beautiful experiences that are even possible within a human lifetime. If you want to hear more of my trip reports, I have a whole playlist that I'm going to put this on of all my trip reports and some guest trip reports from a friend. So check that out and see you later. Peace.